The most important thing was to re-establish the party, to establish the values, re-establish the commitment of the party to its values, adherence to the constitution, and to unite the party. So we were able to achieve this. We have been able to largely unite the party. Yes, we had a few difficulties with the select leaders, but the party did not split. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure doesn't happen is the split of the MDC. Ever since we took over in 2020, there has not been any split. You will have noticed as well that there have been minimum recalls since we took over. Right now, the MDC is doing its restructuring exercise. Throughout the country, we are creating structures because we believe that if we have strong structures, we will have a very good campaigning backbone. So these structures are going to be a backbone for campaign. We are very determined to recalls since we took over. Right now, the MDC is doing its restructuring exercise. Throughout the country, we are creating structures because we believe that if we have strong structures, we will have a very good campaigning backbone. So these structures are going to be a backbone for campaign. We are very determined to change the politics of the country. We reviewed our situation during the time of Morgan Tsvangirai on our strategy, and we discovered that the politics of rancor, acrimony, violence was no longer serving our people, and we have decided to embark on a new political trajectory. We now jettison the politics of rancor, violence, and hatred, and we are embracing the politics of rational disputation and dialogue. And we have been pushing this throughout the country. We can see that there is now a change of attitude of Zimbabweans towards one another. The levels of hate have gone down. Of course, you do see a lot of hate still on the public platform, but this is mostly coming from some sections of the opposition and so on. We have been spearheading dialogue in this country because we believe that the political, social, and economic conundrum of Zimbabwe can be resolved through dialogue. So we have been able to do that. I am excited to say that we have adhered to our constitution. Our constitution says if the president dies, you go to an extraordinary Congress. We were able to do that. And then the terms of office of most of the office bearers expired, and we needed to go to the ordinary Congress. We have set a date for the ordinary Congress. We have done the key processes towards the ordinary Congress, including the nominations for the key positions. We are also doing institutional reform, where we want to promote the women participation in politics, and the women's participation in the highest decision-making bodies in the party. We are happy to say that within the presidium, we have 40% being women, which is a very big percentage, relatively speaking. We are just 10% short of the 50-50 threshold. But we now have our vice president, new vice president is Paulina Mpariwa, and we have our new deputy national chairman is going to be for Yvonne Msarurwa, not only a lady but a young lady. So we are promoting the women. We believe as the MDC that the youths are leaders of tomorrow, or of today, not leaders of tomorrow. And we are happy that through a democratic process, we now have a very vibrant new youth leadership. So this party is doing very, very well. We have played our part as a responsible opposition in the fighting of COVID. We were the first party to say the COVID problem should be completely depoliticized. I was the first opposition MP to be vaccinated, to encourage people to be vaccinated. In fact, I was vaccinated second after Vice President Chiwenga. And we wanted to completely depoliticize that issue. We were criticized by other political parties. We were labeled sellouts and so on. But we knew that this was in the best interest of the Zimbabwean people. And as a result, Zimbabwe's fight on COVID, against COVID, was almost second to none in Africa. We played our part in saying that the sanctions must go. This party, I led a delegation of 5 people who went to see the rapporteur. We produced a position paper showing that the sanctions do not help the people of Zimbabwe, especially the poor and the downtrodden. In effect, the sanctions benefit the rich, benefit the powerful, because they can engage in opaque business like smuggling precious minerals across regular ports of entry under the guise of sanction busting. It is incredibly important that we join the Commonwealth. It's good for our business as well, the business of the Zimbabwean people. So we have lived to our billing as a responsible opposition party, and we have institutionally developed, and I'm very excited as the leader of the party that we are going to have our Congress. And it so happens that we are the only opposition political party that is doing any Congress, any leadership selection. That is a very unpopular sentiment within the MDC. In fact, I was aware that there were some people who thought that if they pushed that line, they would get the support of the MDC members. Well, when we got to the decision time by the MDC members, they completely jettisoned some of those people, meaning that this was a very, very bad idea. The MDC people do not hate unity with other political parties, but they want the unity to be organic, the unity to be based on certain indelible principles. We are a democratic party. We are a social democratic party. We believe in democracy. We have very little in common with the political parties that do not embrace democracy. So that is the point of departure. By the way, the CCC, when it was formed, was not a simple political party. It was a conglomeration of disgruntled people, people who had moved out of the MDC because the MDC, going back to its values, did not suit them. There were people who had moved out of ZANU-PF. So it was a coalition of former MDC and former ZANU-PF, the G40. And such a unity was not predicated upon ideology, upon a common vision. It was predicated upon common hatreds, and it was very, very endurable. So we are happy that the incoming leadership is very, very focused. My first deputy, Senator Chief Ndlovu, business person from Matebeleland, Kai to be specific. Then Paulina Mpariwa, coming from Mashonaland West, former trade unionist. And then as the second vice president, the national chairperson, Sox Chikovero, coming from the Midlands, Gokwe in particular. And then the deputy national chairperson, Yvonne Sarurwa, coming from Mashonaland Central. So I have a regionally balanced top brass. And we are very excited about that. And when we establish the other leadership, we will also look at that. We are going to emphasize more on women. We are going to emphasize on the youth. We are going to emphasize on the grassroots, mobilization of the grassroots. And we are going to emphasize mostly on making sure that the rights of the poor and the downtrodden are protected. It accepts that leaders can be removed or reshuffled by the people. So the fate of the leadership is not in the hands of a president, it is in the hands of the electorate, the membership of the MDC. And we did see that membership exercising its rights and removing some leaders from the top positions and putting other leaders. The good thing is that these leaders are not being replaced by people who are foreign to the MDC. They are being replaced by founder members of the MDC, people who have suffered for the MDC. If you go to my chairman, Sox Chikoero, left the country in 2000 as a result of the persecution. And Yvonne Msarurwa was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. And I think she served about 4 of those years. So we have an extremely cooked leadership and a very good leadership. Now, what happens to the other leaders? One just goes to our history. I was elected president in 2020 after a grueling election campaign against Thokozani Kupe, Elias Mzuri, and Morgan Komichi. And after I had won the presidency, I accommodated the other leaders in the very top leadership of the party. We are not going to throw anybody away. That's not our tradition. They will continue to serve the party in other capacities. But when it comes to top leadership, let's give a chance to those who have been elected and see how they fare. I think they bring different styles of leadership from the way I've assessed them, different levels of energy as well. And I'm sure that we are in for exciting times. Senator Mzuri and Senator Komichi were not dropped. Senator Mzuri and Senator Komichi were not elected. They remain members of the party. And Senator Mzuri himself has said that he will remain in the party. Senator Komichi continues to play very critical roles in the country, in the party. You will see him chairing the National Congress on the 18th. So there is no possibility of a split. MDC has never split as a result of democracy. In other words, MDC has never split after Congress. The causes of the MDC split have been other than democratic. It was as a result of people who wanted to circumvent democracy. Welshman Ngube wanted to remove Tsvangirai, who the membership of the MDC loved and wanted. Tendai BT in 2014 came in with the issue of leadership renewal. And we said, let's go to Congress. They did not want to go to Congress. They wanted Tsvangirai to simply step down. So it was an undemocratic demand that caused the split of the party. Never democracy. When people vote each other and so on, it doesn't lead to a split at all. And the party is not going to split. You may have individual leaders leaving the party. We don't call that a split. It's a splinter. They've just moved out of the party because they are disgruntled about one or two things. There is not going to be an organic split within the MDC. It is a very well balanced party. It's not a regionalistic party. We are united by the Constitution. We are united by common values, and these values are indelible. And members within the MDC know that if they work hard within this party, the sky is the limit. And I'm very excited with the number of youngsters who are interested in the party. The holding of a Congress is not done by the president. The holding of the Congress is a collective exercise. So after our extraordinary Congress, I could stay for 5 years because I was not given a term limit at the extraordinary Congress. I still had my 3 years to go. What we did is that we wanted to hold our Congress in March, but then the the president proclaimed the by-election dates. We went into the by-election. We spent a lot of money there. We then discovered in the by-election that we did not have structures. So we then embarked on rebuilding the structures. Those structures constitute the election college, the college that goes to Congress. So we had to build that, and we required time to do that. We also needed the resources to carry our Congress. Now everything is in place. I have declared the date of the Congress. Some people who wanted the Congress early now wanted it later. Two of my contestants wanted the Congress one in January, and the other one wanted the Congress in February. And I said, no, the Congress is going to be held in December. We are going to be holding our Congress. Now, nomination process. It was held in terms of a template developed not by the president, but by the election directorate, which is chaired by the chairman. So the chairman made the rules. The rules were adopted through a democratic organ like the standing committee, taken to the national executive. These leaders were there. We went to the National Council. The National Council adopted the rules. After adopting the rules, then they said we can have nominations. Now, there is no party which is as democratic as that, setting rules first and then competing in terms of the rules. I was nominated in terms of the rules, not in terms of the rules that I made for myself. So I am a Democrat, I am a constitutionalist, and we have never breached the constitution of the MDC. The National Council is allowed to nominate, and it has nominated before. At the extraordinary Congress, the people complaining now were nominated by the National Council. Mr. Marara went to court. We allow people to challenge us. He went to court, he failed. He wanted to be president here. We did not disqualify him. I did not disqualify him, although he was not qualified. And he was not nominated. He did not even have the temerity to nominate himself. So I think we are very democratic. That is the reason that they gave. We had more serious reasons than that. We had reasons of financial misappropriation. People getting donations using GoFundMe and not getting the donations to the party. Somebody receiving donations for the entire province and using them in his own constituency. So we had more serious issues than came out. And because these issues were of a criminal nature, I did not want to prejudice these people. But Mr. Metu was suspended. And after being suspended for those misconducts, he organized the people from Epworth to come and cause violence at the MDC. He came in the presence of 5 bouncers from Highfield, and we could not allow that to happen. Now, democracy does not mean foolishness. We still, as a party, have to preserve ourselves, our integrity and so on. We have to protect ourselves. So our security did act. Mr. Chiposi and Mr. Metu, they were candidates that I personally recommended. But as soon as they got their candidature, they started acting in a manner that caused the MDC people to be very, very surprised. And as a result, they didn't vote for them and so on. I think we are succeeding in the politics of rational disputation. It's a new thing, and we expect, as expected, there will be resistance to change from elements within ZANU-PF, from elements within the opposition. But what has happened is that there has been, relatively speaking, a scaling down of hostilities among political parties. The level of physical violence has gone down, relatively speaking. I'm not saying that there is no violence. The violence is still there. You still have your Mnyatsime, you still have your Gokwe, you still have your Kwekwe, where people needlessly have been killed sometimes. But the level, the scale of the violence compared to 2008, compared to 2002, to 2000, has considerably gone down. And I think the message is singing home. We had ZANU-PF now talking about the need to have the new politics of rational disputation. And I have heard Honorable BT, who is, I don't know the position he holds in the CCC now, but he is a senior person, he's a founder member of the CCC, now talking about dialogue. Dialogue is extremely important. We embarked on it because it has worked before. The War of Liberation was ended by dialogue in Lancaster House. Then the bloodletting in Matabeleland ended with the dialogue and the signing of the Unity Accord in 1987. And the bloodletting in 2008 was ended by dialogue and the signing of the Global Political Agreement in 2008 and the consummation of an inclusive government in 2009. We are following what has worked before. Now, our friends within the opposition were advocating for radical politics. They wanted to demonstrate, they wanted to bring down the government and so on. But we are now only a year to go. When are they going to demonstrate? When are they going to bring down the government? It means that they were just talking. They are not brave enough to hold a single demonstration. The leaders are very, very weak. I think with the exception only of Job Sikala, who dares speak his mind. And of course, he is being led to rot in prison by his own colleagues. No one, not even a single demonstration was made by his colleagues in support of Job Sikala, because these people are so risk averse. And yet they want to promote, advocate for a system that requires people who are risk takers. We are more risk takers than them, but we know that there are certain methods that don't work at particular times. So right now, the only method, sustainable method that works in Zimbabwe is dialogue and rational disputation. I must be able to listen to you. I must be able to pick a phone and talk to President Mnangagwa. I must be able to take him to task without necessarily insulting him. I have been labeled a sellout because I have advocated for dialogue. They say I am Mnangagwa's person because I'm saying we should have dialogue. But Robert Mugabe, Joshua Nkomo, went and spoke to Smith in Lancaster House. Smith, their adversary, in even bloodier circumstances, they went and spoke to him. Why did people not say Mugabe is Smith's person? Morgan Tsvangirai in 2008 went and spoke to Robert Mugabe again in bloodier circumstances. Why did people not say, the same people not say Tsvangirai was Mugabe's person? Now Douglas Mwonzora is pursuing dialogue because it works, and the incumbent president is Mnangagwa. You cannot avoid talking to him. And they say Mwonzora is Mnangagwa's person, has been bought. But the label of sellout is a weapon of choice within the opposition. When Welshman Mncube left the party in 2005, he was labeled a CIO, he was labeled a sellout. David Coltart was labeled a sellout. When Tendai BT insisted on leadership renewal and left the party, he was labeled a sellout and so on. When Nelson Chamisa lost the court case in the Supreme Court, and others embraced the court case, he then labeled us sellouts. People always describe the person who has beaten them. We have outclassed them in every battle that we have fought with them. The battle for control of parliament, we won it. The battle for control of our properties, we won it. The battle for the political parties' finances, we won it. By the way, it's me who argued that case in the Supreme Court in 1997. And I'm rarely credited by those people of having brought that. And whenever we win court cases, they say the courts are captured. But when they win the court cases, the judges are fair, and so on. We are dealing with people who are extremely childish and people who just label others. And the people who are labeling us were G40, who are now applying to go back to ZANU-PF. Where Wopolo Chingono has never had a history within the opposition. He is G40, and they are going back to ZANU-PF. So these are, they have a term within the opposition, kushibisa. But what happens is that the truth is going to come out. And I'm happy that the truth is coming out. There is nowhere I have said to people, produce the proof that I was bought by ZANU-PF. They didn't have it. I didn't have a business dealing with ZANU-PF. I didn't have a contract with the Gushungo Holdings. There are people who had that contract and so on. And there are people who got farm inputs in 2008 when the MDC was precluding it. They are there within the CCC. There are people who got land in Nyanga, and they are leaders of the CCC. And I got land in Nyanga. I am the grandson of Chief Tangwena. My ancestors' homeland is in Nyanga. I am from the royal family in Nyanga. And they say that I was bought. I received a second vehicle from government. And this vehicle is indeed a Mercedes Benz. It is a service vehicle. It is not my vehicle. It is a government vehicle that I've been asked to use. I've been allowed to use. It's registered in the name of the CMED. And I'm enjoined to return it at the expiration of my term. It's a service vehicle. This is because the leader of the opposition has the same status as a cabinet minister. And these are some of the perks that come with it. I am not the first Zimbabwean to receive perks as a result of office. Nelson Chamisa was minister. Tendai Biti was minister, and so on. And most of these people in the CCC, David Coltart, they were given top-of-the-range Mercedes-Benz vehicles. And I remember people taking Chamisa to task about receiving the Benz. And he defended himself. But this is because these were service vehicles. But unlike me now, they took the vehicles home. I have been given an additional vehicle because I am the leader of the opposition, supervising all opposition MPs. So I am not confined to Nyanga, which is my home area, or Manicaland, which is my senatorial constituency. I rove throughout the whole country. And it is unfair for me to use my vehicle to do that, or to use the vehicle allocated to me by Parliament. It's an additional vehicle because I have additional responsibilities. Land. I started farming in 1998. And I was producing sheep for mutton and lamb. I am doing trout fishing, and I will be opening a dairy farm, a dairy at the farm. And this dairy is going to employ 34 people from the district, and about 6 people who are not coming from the district of Nyanga because they have special skills that are needed. So we are going to be producing at the dairy, if our plans, if we go according to plan, we are going to be producing 12,000 liters of milk a day. And Zimbabwe is short of 5 million liters of milk per month. So we are going to play a part in the economy of the district of Nyanga, in the employment of people in Nyanga, and contributing to the economy. I started farming in 1998.
And the vehicle, you are going to retain it at one point?
Yes, because this is a government vehicle. It was not given to Douglas Mwonzora and registered in my name. It's registered in the CMED. It's a government vehicle. The country is not in an electricity crisis because there is no money. The country is in an electricity crisis because there is poor planning on the part of the government, and there is corruption involving top government officials. There is enough money for electricity in this country. There is enough money to give civil servants certain benefits that go with their offices. There is enough money to give MPs loans. And loans, being loans, are an option that MPs can take or not. So instead of people arguing that the MPs must not get loans, I think the correct argument is that civil servants must get housing loans. And these housing loans may not necessarily be 40,000 and so on, because the grades do differ. But according to grade, the civil servants must be given housing loans. It's an important thing to do. So instead of looking at the MPs, there must be a concerted fight by the people of Zimbabwe that these loans or part of these loans must be extended to all the workers in Zimbabwe, mostly the civil servants. MPs do deserve, I think, to get housing loans, car loans. It stands to reason. But the problem is that the people are using the corruption to justify denying the MPs. And this government got its priorities wrong. They knew that the water in the Kariba was going down, or ought to have known that. They knew that Zimbabwe must import electricity. They didn't set funds aside for that. But there's been a lot of corruption in the country. This is what the people must be fighting against. Well, these are not very significant, I should say. But these funds are meant to help a party that has achieved a threshold in parliament to do its administration. So most of this money go towards administrative expenses, payment of salaries for party workers, payment of party debts, and so on. And we were very unfortunate as the MDC that the successive administrations, the administration of Welshman Ngube, the administration of Tendai BT, the administration of Nelson Chamisa, did leave the party in debt. And the buildings, the Harvest House in particular, was in danger of being repossessed as a result of the debts. So we had to prioritize paying the debts for the party. And we are happy that we have almost amortized our debts. Now we are waiting for the other money to come, so that we are able to buy vehicles to use for the party. So we have put this money to good use. Fortunately for us, because we have the national executive, because we have a national council, because we have a Congress, we account to these bodies. So Dr. Mashakada, who was our treasurer for the period of Thokozani Kupe and myself, has presented 3 financial reports in the national executive, where some of the people sit, and these reports have been they've been accepted. So we are very transparent financially. And at the Congress that is coming, the president is going to present a financial report to the Congress, and people are free to look into this financial report and critique it. Well, but there are some political parties that have solicited donations from the public, and those donations have not been used for the purposes that they were made. And those members of the parties of those leaders are not complaining, but they are looking at the MDC. They are looking at the speck in the MDC's eye and not the log that is in their eyes. This is not the first time that the MDC is not participating in elections. In between 2014 and 2018, that 4 years, the MDC did not participate in by-elections because it was, firstly, it did not think that it was structurally prepared for the by-election. That was number one. Number two, that it was insisting on minimum reforms first. That is why we formed the NERA, the National Electoral Reform Agenda, and we were fighting for electoral reforms, and we then achieved the biometric voter registration system and so on, a democratization of the electoral system, and then we participated in 2018. After the 26 March by-election, we came to a realization that, number one, the party was not structurally prepared for by-elections. Number two, that the electoral playing field was not even. And we then said priority is to build structures, and priority is to argue, to negotiate for electoral reforms. And we have negotiated for electoral reforms through the Zimbabwe Institute Forum of 3 political parties in parliament, involving the CCC, ZANU-PF, and ourselves. And we are happy that there are certain reforms that are coming our way. We have now done our structures. We are now at 75%. And by end of December, we'll be at 100%. We will now be able to contest any election using our structures as the springboard. So in our not participating in election, there has been method in the madness. It's strategic. The MDC believes in the Chinese saga: fight 100 battles and win 100 victories. We are going to fight for those minimum electoral reforms, and we are going to get them. And we will be able to participate in the elections of 2023. We have no cause to budget for skepticism or pessimism in our struggle. We have always won against in the face of great adversity. So yes, we are going to fight for these reforms. Yes, we are going to be structurally strong as to participate and win the elections. And by the way, we have predicted ourselves to win the presidential election by 66%, and we still maintain that.